Well. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to another episode of On the Grind, and we have an announcement to make. Given the events of over the weekend of the successful launch of Cyber Pop Control Theory, we have decided here at Grindstone Arts that our focus will be moving from comic books and published works like that to Dakimakuras. Hopefully that's okay with everybody.
I would hope so. Good lord.
I never knew that a Dakimakura of a woman that was crippled but had a fat ass was going to sell that many products. And if that was the case, I would have done this earlier.
Yeah.
So ladies and gentlemen out there in the business world, do not underestimate the marketing quality of crippled booty. Apparently, it's a thing that people enjoy. But in all seriousness, this week on the Grind, we're going to be talking a little bit about Space Marine. We're going to be talking a bit about more stupid people saying stupid things, but this time about Alan Wake. And Dr. Disrespect has returned, and we'll be following up on our coverage of that particular story from, well, when we started the show. So, let's go ahead and get rolling. Ladies and gents, once again, welcome back to On the Grind. Alright, so to get us rolling, for our weekly review, is a video game that has been... Okay, so here's this will give you an idea of the gap in time from when the first installment of this game came out. I was writing for Blistered Thumbs at the time. Yeah. I was in my mid-20s. So, it goes without saying that people have been waiting for a sequel to it for a very, very long time. The original game was made by Relic, who were also the creators of the Dawn of War games, so they were kind of the Warhamer guys. But after Dawn of War 3 tried to do like the MOBA thing or some bullshit, they've kind of fallen out of favor. And people didn't think that we were ever going to get a sequel to the original Space Marine. But then, Saber Interactive, it's headed up by Tim Willits, formerly of id Software, one of the creators of Doom. And they also had done a World War Z video game that apparently was pretty good.
It was bad.
Yeah. And so they got the rights to do Space Marine 2. Apparently, according to Tim Willits, they approached Games Workshop to get their hands on this. And given my first impressions of the game, I haven't finished the story yet. God bless them for doing it, because this game's fucking awesome. I genuinely... I knew it was gonna at least be fun. Because it looked fun. Like, you play the opening stuff to it, or you watch the trailers, and you just see Tyranids everywhere, you see blood, you see guts, you see weapons, you see explosions. It's kind of like everything that you need for a good sort of like third-person shooter experience. So it's what you expect. How it actually plays shocked the shit out of me. The original game was, I would describe it as beautifully button mashy. It was basically Dynasty Warriors with guns. Which is not a negative. You know, it was one of my favorite games of that year, because that came out in 2011. And when it comes to like great gaming years, 2011 is like one of the best years ever in video games. It's really hard to match it. Like, maybe 2007 and 2008 come close to it, and that's about it. But, so the fact that it was able to stand out in people's minds that year is something else. But the big thing with Space Marine 2 is that they changed it. They changed the gameplay up in an interesting way, in the sense that, and some people are going to cringe at me saying this, but just bear with me on this. They took some inspirations from Souls-likes,
Okay.
specifically from Sekiro
Oh, all
and
right.
its parry system. Yeah. So, the way that the system worked in the original game is you had your armor gauge, which was sort of like the typical refilling shield, and then you had your health, and then your executions on orcs done after you stun them. That refilled your health gauge, and you just kept going like a murder blender. You could still be a murder blender in this, but you have to be a lot smarter of a murder blender. The Tyranid warriors in this, one of them can kill you easily if you're not careful.
They
Which
should,
is,
considering that how much damage they did to Macrosh.
yeah,
Oh,
exactly. So, with with this, basically, you have to keep an eye on the indications that each enemy gives you. They will give you a parry indication, or they will give you a dodge indication. Dodge is orange, parry is blue. And if you successfully dodge or successfully parry, you will get the chance to get a free gunshot in on them at a critical area. Basically, free headshot. And you every time you do that and kill something, you get part of your armor gauge back. Your health does not regenerate anymore, only your armor. And because these are Tyranids, they swarm you. So you've got a ton of little bastards just nipping at you. And what ends up happening is you find yourself in a position where you're constantly looking for opportunities to execute enemies or to get those critical shots off, because you're regaining your armor almost as quickly as you're losing it. Effectively, you're getting rewarded for being a smart, aggressive player. Because the ideal is that you wade into these groups of enemies, you'll get an indication that one of them's going to jump at you. You parry the little guy, the Hormigaunt, you'll catch him out of the air and kill him instantly. Then you get a pip of armor back. You fight one of the warriors while you're fighting the group of people doing big old melee swings. You parry him, you dodge him, things of that nature. You get in your critical shots, then you execute him when you get the chance. You get even more armor back. So effectively, you're consistently finding ways and looking for opportunities to get your armor back just as quickly as you're losing it. And again, it feels a little bit Dark Souls, it feels a little bit Sekiro, but it still feels like Space Marine, if that makes any sense. It's effectively just taking in elements of another genre of gaming to make you think about it, about what you're doing a lot more. Another thing I will also admit freely is that it kind of rewards you for fighting dirty. Like, if you want to be Captain Honorable Motherfucker and only fight people in melee, that is an option. And I've seen people that I've played, like, the PvE with that are doing the Vanguard class that are really fucking good in melee to the point where they're, like, barely ever getting hurt. But it's not easy. And if you miss one parry, you can take a shit ton of damage. However, the other thing you could do is, if you have a warrior and a bunch of Hormagaunts charging you, instead of, getting your chainsword out and getting ready to attack them, you can just pull out a fucking melt-a-gun and just blast a whole lot of them. Because, fuck them, they're bugs. And that's what I mean by it kind of rewards you for playing dirty. Because the guns are very powerful, and they feel very rewarding and a lot of fun. There's several new variations of the bolter that all have different purposes. Some of them are like super rapid fire, almost like SMGs, that are ridiculously good at close range and in corridors, but suck ass at range. You have ones that are like 3-round bursts that are really good for precision at medium range. You get the Stalker bolter does return. You also get a lasgun sniper that, it will hit any of the bigger enemies like the warriors. You headshot them once with it, they're instantly in execution phase. So, needless to say, it is it's pretty dope. A lot of fun to play. As for the plot, I'm not spoiling anything because I'm not going to tell you anything you didn't hear out of the trailers, but I'll add a couple extra details to just kind of confirm something for the audience. Bolt Gun, the boomer shooter, it's canon. It is 100% canon, which means that the main character of Bolt Gun, the Sturmguard veteran Malum Kaido, might be the most bad motherfucker in the Ultramarines since the fucking Primarch.
Dude, that dude is a fucking maniac. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you kill 3 Lords of Change. 3 of them. I don't know about another Space Marine outside of the Chapter Master or the Primarch who could do that. Because he did it solo.
Dude was brutal.
Yeah, that's insane. And to be fair, though, I mean, as Captain Titus in this, so you fight Chaos, like, Chaos is here. Specifically, you're fighting the Thousand Suns. And, you fight Terminators in this. Chaos Terminators. And Titus can fuck up Terminators, too. So it's not like he's that far behind Malum Kaido in regards to how bad of a motherfucker he is. But he's got backup in this. The 2 new Space Marines that you get, because for those who played the original game, one of your squad mates dies, sadly, Sidonis. R.I.P. He was the man. But you get two. I'm trying to find the character list, but you get 2 new background characters that are your underneath you. Sergeant Gadriel and Chiron. Gadriel is sort of like your cynic, always questioning orders of the squad. And then Chiron is a very angry man. But he's kind of great. I like Chiron a lot. Because Chiron, his anger is his character flaw, but he's a real bro. And that's what I like about him. Like, he's kind of the glue that keeps the squad together.
Mm-hmm.
So he might be my favorite new character out of this. But yeah, it is the way that the story goes is that, to fill in the blanks between Space Marine 1 and 2, during the course of, or after Titus was taken by the Inquisition, he was, apparently the Inquisitor who took him was corrupt and had a vendetta against the Space Marines. So he basically would take Titus out of stasis every couple of years just to torture him. Well, at one point, the rest of the Inquisition found out about this motherfucker and killed his ass. And Titus was freed. But because they still didn't know why he was resistant to the warp, he was placed in the Death Watch as a Black Shield. So so he did not wear his regalia like the other brothers that he served with, which sadly his squad dies at the beginning of the game because you start off playing Titus as in his Black Watch armor because he is a squad captain again, or squad leader, again. So he's still leading men. One of your guys is a Space Wolf. One guy is a Black Templar. I think the other one was a Blood Raven. No, Blood Angel. Sorry, not Blood Raven.
I'm gonna say the frickin' Meg guys.
But anyway, sadly your squad dies, and Titus has to deploy a virus bomb to slow down the invasion of Tyranids on a planet. And Titus ends up getting mortally wounded in a fight, but he's saved by the Ultramarines, and they pick him up, and they to save his life, they put him through the Rubicon Primaris, and he not only survives the procedure, they put him back into combat the day after the day after.
Okay, so just to sum up everything, so there's a death. Okay, so the Death Watch is a group that the Ordo Xenos use to fight aliens, and they borrow one Space Marine from every chapter, or multiple Space Marines, but they usually end up like ad hoc groups, where they all fight to fight aliens in order to destroy them. The Rubicon Primaris is the explanation for why the sculpts had to be made somewhat bigger. So the Marine had to go through, and originally to become a Marine, you had to go through 19 different implants. Now it's like 21 or 22, I think.
21.
21. So it was 18 different implants, and then 21 now. So that's how do you make a fresh one? The Rubicon Primaris is them adding the 3 extra organs, which are extra strong skeleton, the Belisarian furnace, and something else. And it kills them on the operating table. But then, if it goes well and it works, they get better.
That is the best explanation for it, basically. It's like, yeah, you died, but you got over it. Mm-hmm. You'll walk it off. It's fine. It's so fucking wild. I love Space Marines. But yeah, so the big thing with Titus is that, to explain what the Black Shield means, is every member of the Death Watch, they wear the logo of their starter chapter, the chapter they come from, on their shoulder. So an Ultramarine would have a blue pauldron with the U on it. A Salamander would have a green one, or actually it'd be a black one with a red dragon on it. You know, stuff like that. So, but the rest of their armor is black because they're not under the command of their original chapter. They're under the command of the Ordo Xenos.
Yeah.
So these guys are basically, how do I put it? Black Ops alien killing specialists. You want to know about the proper way to kill any sort of Xenos in the universe? Ask a Death Watch member; they'll tell you. They know the best ways to do it. And throughout the story, Titus is consistently referencing stuff that you can tell he learned while he was in the Death Watch. I mean, granted, he's 200 years old, so he's been serving for a long fucking time. But anyway, he gets folded back into the Ultramarines. He's actually older than his new captain, which is wild. And hijinks ensue, basically. You go down to the planet, you start killing, and you just start killing people. I'm not going to spoil the story from there. When I fully review this, I will talk a little bit more about it. I just wanted to kind of set the pace. For people wondering, is this worth buying? I'm going to give you a hesitant yes. The reason I say that is because there are, as long as you install this on an internal solid state drive, it runs pretty well. It's not perfect. It is an Unreal Engine 5 game, so it's got some bugs. I've had some crashes here and there, but one thing I will admit is that my CPU is not under the recommended specs. It's kind of like in the in-between spot between the recommended and the minimum, just because it's older. But the thing is that I'm able to play this on a card on high settings, but the gimmick is, because I only have a GTX 1080 in my PC. I can upgrade it to a 3080 if I want to, which I plan on when I've got some more money. But the gimmick is that this is the first game I have played where the upscaling technology is actually really good and does not fuck with your frame rate.
Oh, goodness.
So for those of you who have a a graphics card like mine that's like a GTX 1080 or somewhere around there, you might be able to run this basically on high, but you're going to be upscaling it from a low resolution. So the image quality won't be as good as just running it on high normally, but it'll be very close to the point where I have to look. If I wasn't as close to my monitor as I am, I wouldn't know that I'm upscaling it. It's really, really good. So, but once like if you got upgrades to your PC, if you're running a newer graphics card and a newer CPU, you're gonna be able to run this perfectly fine. It's gonna look gorgeous. It is just a beautiful looking game. So that is the one thing that I would just say is that it's not perfect. There's gonna be a day one patch. Those of us who have been playing this early access have effectively been playing. It's not really. I wouldn't call it a beta. That wouldn't be very genuine of me. But it's definitely a not complete. Like it's still got a couple of things to work out. So there will probably be a day one patch that'll probably get launched either at the night we're recording this, which is Sunday, or on Monday, which is when the audio of this will go up on to all the platforms we upload to. But either way, it definitely is something that I recommend to people. Check it out. It's also on consoles, of course. So check it out. If you enjoyed the first game, you're going to fucking love this. It's a great co-op game. And the best thing about it, it's already crossplay capable everywhere. I've been playing matches with people, like the last match I did online with randos was me, and then a guy on I'm on PC. Then there was a guy on Xbox and a guy on PlayStation, and it was like almost flawless. The net code is pretty fucking good here. So yeah, definitely a recommendation at least from the early bits. Next time, by the time that we do the next show, I'll have probably beaten the game. So we'll talk about the story and all this other stuff. But yeah, it's fucking awesome, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all the stuff that they're going to do. Apparently, they're gonna do a ton of like PVE downloadable content, and that's gonna be free. They're just gonna charge for cosmetics, and yeah, which I'm all for. As long as you got cool looking armor, I think that you'll be able to keep money coming in. But there's that, and then also it's just gonna be a blast to play for months to come. So I'm excited about the future of this, and I'll let everybody know what it's like when we finish it. Speaking of finished, well, not really, but I needed a segue. It's the best I could come up with. Don't sue me. We'll actually be talking about lawsuits later, because oh boy, we got some shit. So Alan Wake 2. We have a friend named Doc who loves Alan Wake. So I know that he's probably rooting for this to be a success because he just enjoys Alan Wake. But according to, and this is from a report from That Park Place Newswork, which Serena made us aware of this. So thank you, Rena.
You're welcome.
So after Alan Wake 2 failed to turn a profit, the game's senior community manager calls for bigots to be removed from gaming communities. Yeah. He says, in the wake of Fireworks Studios, is Concord being boycotted and shut down due to low sales as well? Let's see here. So this is stuff about Concord. I'm trying to find... Oh, because what she said was in response to Concord getting shut down as well. She says here that we need to uplift the good eggs, protect and support those who need it. Twitter has never been full of accounts who are peddling hate 24/7, blah, blah, blah. No, but she says getting bigots out of your communities is a band-aid, not a permanent solution. Modeling desired behaviors and championing the kinds of community members you want to be the majority in your community takes effort and time. Start early, practice often, small steps or steps too. I'm going to just say this right now because it doesn't seem like she's completely saying that the reason that Alan Wake failed is because of bigots, but that's how
It's
people are
coming off.
taking it. Yeah, because the first thing people are looking at is Alan Wake didn't turn a profit. And acting as if bigots are the problem in the video gaming community. People have been saying that now for what? 10 years? Since the good old Be More? It hasn't been true for 10 years. It's not true now. That's not the problem. Alan Wake 2 specifically, and this is just from the observing from the outside in. If we have any people that actually played Alan Wake 2 that could comment on why they think it didn't do as well, feel free to message us. Because I would like to hear from the community on this. But what I put on Twitter, X, Twitter, whatever, is that Alan Wake failed to turn a profit because the game had very little excitement around it. And it was barely about Alan Wake. And then you hired Sweet Baby for consulting, and that didn't help things either because beyond politics, they are untalented hacks. None of which has anything to do with bigotry. You know, I don't think that there was that much of a clamoring for Alan Wake 2, to be honest with you. At least not from my knowledge. I mean, and again, this is just my perspective, and then I want to hear from you too as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is my perspective on this is that the general idea when it comes to Remedy Entertainment. I love Max Payne 1 and 2, but if there's one thing that I would criticize Remedy of, they're very much up their own ass. They're kind of pretentious. And I don't think they've ever put out a bad game, but the pretentiousness of it and the constant screaming in your face, "Hey, did you like Twin Peaks too? 'Cause we sure did." Kind of gets on my nerves. And it kind of turns me off personally.
Okay.
They really like Twin Peaks over there.
They really liked it.
That kind of bugs the fuck out of me because it's like, man, like, why exactly are we doing all this self-referential shit? So, goes without saying, at least from my end, it's like they didn't really build the hype like they really needed to. The game came out again like 10 plus years after the original came out. I think that a lot of people, at least when Alan Wake came out, they're like, yeah, this is pretty good, and then they moved on. What do you guys think about it?
Oh goodness, I played original Alan Wake, and it was fantastic. Even though the it gets kind of in the absurd, because the whole thing is essentially a game that's making fun of writers and writing tropes effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not paying attention, there's some goofy parts that I like, because there's one part where Alan Wake describes himself picking up a page, but because he's reading the page, the original writer also wrote that he picks up the page, and now it becomes a recursive page, and it starts driving him kind of crazy because he's reading it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So he reads that he picks up the page, and he picks it up on the page. He reads that he picks up the page, and that's the kind of jokes that I kind of like from the Alan Wake, because there's a lot of like writer referential humor in there,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it, and I did like how the combat went, where you had to basically bully these the Shadowlings in order to more or less get them out of the way. And how do I put this? The only thing that really bothered me was the ending, because it kind of had that thing where the true ending, it was more or less in another game or another DLC.
Mm-hmm.
Because you had to play that in, what was it? I
American
think it was
Nightmare?
American Nightmare. Yes, American Nightmare. Before you can get even a little bit more closure than what you had in the original game, which, spoiler, Alan Wake had to more or less like trap himself in fucking writer's hell in order to keep the entity from escaping. And because yeah, that it's an interesting concept of having like a monster that requires and punishes like plot holes. Because that's what caused this whole thing is that the original like poet that he he made a plot hole by saying that his wife came back and but didn't explain how.
Mm.
And the entity that was involved used the plot hole to force itself into Alan Wake's reality, which caused the poet to have to write Alan Wake into existence and then create this whole system where Alan Wake doesn't know if he's actually like a person or if he's just the poet's like avatar being used to fight the entity, and as a result, he's it's an interesting little take on like the writers having to take possession of their own work, and I rather enjoyed it right up until the ending. Obviously, it's just, but yeah, like it's very Twin Peaksy. They really loved Twin Peaks, and I think they had, if I remember correctly, there was like a running gag series alongside the whole series that you could watch. They were like episodes like a minute long, and then you just watch them for a little bit, take your mind off the fact that you're surrounded by all uh these monsters that are basically just like shadow sculpted average tradies and workers and all that, and then just move on. But it was it. I don't know. I do get how you feel about them being a little up their own ass, especially with the Twin Peaks little TV show that they hide.
Yeah.
Ah, but rambling.
It's one of those things where I really feel like um they obviously put a ton of budget into Alan Wake 2, and it's like I kind of feel like they just kind of overspent and underdelivered because it's people were expecting, okay, we're getting an Alan Wake sequel. Am I going to be playing as Alan? And you're apparently not playing as Alan very much. You're playing as this black FBI agent lady who is apparently, at least from what I've been told, again, secondhand information, is a Mary Sue. And the fact of the matter is that her race to me doesn't really mean anything because the FBI hires from everywhere. Um, it's the Mary Sue part that's going to drive people fucking insane. I'm of the opinion that if you're going to do you've come up with this FBI character, and even if Sweet Baby, you've consulted with them and wasted your money in doing so, by the way, that might have been why they didn't turn a profit, is because they wasted their money on that shit. Like, you didn't need consultants. They've never done an offensive video game, in my opinion. Even Max Payne, for as gritty as it could be, was not what I would think that these people would find offensive, but then again, what they find offensive is different every day. But overall, like, Remedy has never been that kind of a group that I really thought would ever be like the troublemakers. But regardless, like if they tell you, oh, well, she needs to be black and da-da-da-da-da, it's like, whatever. Why not just have a game called, okay, let me use my title generator in my brain, Among Dark Tides, or something like that, or Among the Shadows, something along those lines, starring this FBI agent, because that's who you're primarily playing as, and you market it as this is following up on Alan Wake, and you have Alan make guest appearances because it's basically what you already did. Like why was this game called Alan Wake 2? And is basically what I'm asking. You know, Like, what was the fucking point? And, like, that's why it didn't make money. And I think that people just need to, I think, especially Remedy, I hope that they're understanding that the problem that goes with this particular game is you didn't market it right, you didn't have your main character in it barely at all, and it ultimately just was completely uninteresting in regards to that. And not to mention, like, people who enjoyed the first game, I watched some of their reviews online, they were like, I don't know what the fuck we're doing here. You know, it's not a bad video game by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not Alan Wake. I'm not playing as the guy it's named after. It's sort of like if if we had another Duke Nukem game and you're not playing as Duke Nukem, you're playing as the Marcus Phoenix parody guy from Duke Nukem Forever. You know, you'd be like, what? Why the fuck am I playing as this guy? I want to play as Duke Nukem. That's why I'm here for. That's why I bought the ticket. Or another good example is like if you oh, this is gonna seem kind of brutal. You buy a Metallica ticket. You've never seen Metallica before. You're excited to see Metallica. You give the person your ticket. You go to the merch stand. You buy yourself a Metallica shirt, and you decide to be that guy. You throw it on right then and there, and then the tour manager comes up at the start of the set and goes, "Sorry guys, we're not doing Metallica tonight. They're being replaced with Imagine Dragons."
Oh,
You'd be fucking pissed, right?
oh, God. Just a young gun with a quick fuse. Oh, God.
Oh God. So yeah, it's one of those things where like you can understand why it didn't do as well. I just think that people need to be like actually looking at this. Stop with this bullshit of like bigots in the community. Like, fuck off. Just knock it off. That's not what's going on. You know it's not what's going on. Stop being so fucking childish. All right.
Why are you bringing that up? Like, it somehow means something.
I don't know, man. It's just an easy scapegoat, but if you think that in the age of information that people aren't going to look deeper into this and there won't be people that question what you say, you know, you're being silly.
At minimum.
All right, so here's a frustrating thing. Serena, tell us what the Sony CFO said about them not having enough original IP.
Yeah, I kind of forgot a bit of it, but they say they didn't have enough IPs to like adapt into other media. Hence why they constantly rely on remakes and remasters of previous IPs, which is kind of dumb. Because I'm not a Sony fanboy, but I know enough of their IPs to know that they have way more than what they're showcasing.
Yeah, especially with the wording here. Like, whether it's for games, films, or anime, we don't have that much IP that we fostered from the beginning.
Yeah, that's bullshit. You do.
I love that the first response is a pissed off Barney. Like, universal IPs, you're sitting on them. Yeah, it's like some of them, like, they have them and they're sitting on them, or they fucked them up. Like, I have a feeling, especially given how much people love shooters, why the fuck aren't we getting, like, you could have somebody working on a remake of the original Resistance. Which, because there's people that argue that Resistance didn't get good until the second game. Like, why not go remake the original? You know? You're sitting on Bloodborne. People have wanted, like, an update of Bloodborne in 60 frames a second and on PC. And I forget his name, who's the head of FromSoft. Miyazaki, he said he'd be all for it, but it's Sony has to make the call. I'm actually looking at a list of their original IPs. Dark Cloud. We haven't had a Dark Cloud game in forever. Um, let's see here. What's another good one? Um, adapting into other things, like you could easily adapt Ghost of Tsushima into an anime. Same thing with God of War. What else is there?
Endless. Fucking, you can do Jack and Daxter. People would love a
Killzone.
Jack and Daxter.
Killzone. Where's Killzone at? You know, why did you waste all your fucking money on Concord instead of doing another Killzone game? What else is there? Um, have they done like a remaster or anything of Little Big Planet?
Nothing, as far as I know.
Yeah, so there's another one. They did a remake of Medieval, so I can't say that. Patapon is another one. I remember Patapon when they released Patapon 2 when I was working at Blistered Thumbs. It was really, really good. Yeah, Ratchet and Clank, they just did one, but you could still be doing stuff with that. You could easily make a cartoon of Ratchet and Clank, you know, if you wanted to.
Give it that juju treatment.
Yeah. Let's see here. You know, SOCOM. There's another one.
Oh, I heard SOCOM in years. Damn.
Yeah,
That's
like
an ancient one.
and like in this day and age, if you could make a really good stealth squad shooter, I think people would eat that shit up.
Oh, what about Mercenaries? I know people have been leaving for that.
Mercenaries is EA.
Oh,
Siphon Filter. They've been sitting on Siphon Filter forever.
Oh god, that's not a name I've heard in fucking ages.
Here's one that if you made a successful remake, especially with Final Fantasy VII's remake's popularity, you know, if you made a good remake, you could also turn it into an anime, The Legend of the Dragoon.
speaking of Dragon, we should get a remake of fucking the Dragon Guard, the first one.
Oh god.
Oh
Please.
god.
Oh
Please.
god.
Nier Automata is popular as shit. It has a fucking anime.
Yeah, but did you play the original Drakengard?
No, I've seen it.
Okay, well,
then we can understand why you're kind of hyped for it. But
yeah,
the original Dragon Guard was very, very, very terribly, like, gameplay wise, story wise, fucking confusing as shit.
yeah,
But
and
I can understand
top-
why it was good.
yeah, it was interesting because at the time it was a very dark fantasy when there wasn't a lot of dark fantasy video games. Because that was around the time that like Lord of the Rings was like hitting its stride popularity wise because of the movies. But the original Drakengard had some interesting ideas, but like it had no impact in regards to like how you play it. Like whenever you swung your sword and hit something, you didn't really feel it in a sense. Like the sound effects were really lame. They didn't have an impact to them. The orchestral score was really fucking weird. Especially there's one particular level I remember where I swear to God the singers that they got for the choir just got bored one day and started singing "Hail the Coffee Pot." And I'd be dead serious. People who have played the original Drakengard will know exactly what I'm talking about.
I mean, it'd be a perfect opportunity given the popularity of the Nier franchise to bring it back. Hell, I've been seeing a lot of like Dragon Guard art and cosplay online recently.
Mm-hmm. But the issue is that you'd have to basically it wouldn't be a remake, it wouldn't be a remaster. You'd have to basically gut the thing just to make it playable for, and like tolerable for the tastes of the modern audience. Ugh, I hate saying that.
Yeah,
Sure.
there's
Remake
actually
it.
some truth to it. Yeah, you'd have to do a top down remake, um, and you'd have to. It would kind of need a rewrite. That's the big thing.
Because
You
I
know,
mean, there was one weird ending where you ended up having to fight off like modern day jets, which results in near automata.
Yeah, that's the Queen Beast battle.
So it's kind of helps to explain where the other games came from, but it would have to be rebuilt. And I don't know if my man's has enough social capital at his company in order to force it through.
He does. Like, come on. He made one of the most popular franchises ever that has a popular anime. Everybody will be clamoring for that.
eh,
Hmm.
maybe. Overall, the general point is that like there is a shocking amount of uh, IP that they have that they're just squatting on it, and to say something like that makes me wonder. It's like, dude, how familiar are you with what your brand actually owns? My general thought is not very, because if the best thing that you're offering the world as like evidence of like Sony's artisanal flavor is The Last of Us, we've got problems. Though Lolly dropped something on me that I thought was fucking hilarious. Apparently, Neil Druckmann has been become persona non grata. I don't have a Jew button. It's not installed, but I kind of wish I could play it right now because that's why. Because he doesn't
Yeah,
support Palestine.
ugh.
And it's like he's from Israel. What the
And
fuck do you expect?
I
Yeah,
mean, he pulled
apparently
the
the
button.
yeah, apparently the whole thing with like the Seraphites are apparently like people are thinking that they're an allusion to the Palestinians, and I'm like, oh no, that's
Aren't the
amazing.
Seraphites
Do what?
mean? Aren't the Seraphites villains like a
Yeah, they
religious
are.
cult?
They're a religious cult, and that's. I mean, the Palestinians. I mean, yeah, but I'm not gonna get too into politics. But Jesus fucking Christ, that's ballsy. It's still not a very well written story. It's not a good story at all. But that itself, if that's what he meant, that's fucking ballsy.
Oh,
Oh man, I have to. I hate to say it. I kind of respect that. I kind of do. Because especially in this day and age, in the area that he's in, among Hollywood, you're not allowed to do that. So it makes me wonder what's going to happen with that franchise going forward. That's funny to me though. Because for those who don't know, I am of the tribe. I'm not too fond of Palestinians either. So yeah, that to me is ballsy. But yeah, it goes without saying at this point that Jesus fucking Christ, people, like, pay attention to the IPs. Like, there's so much more that Sony could be doing right now. Their next big thing that they are banking on, honestly, is probably Death Stranding 2. Which, I'm all for more Norman Reedus and the Funky Fetus. Um, it's the most successful. The first game is the most successful walking simulator ever, and for good reason, because it's actually quite enjoyable. But like
As
Kojima cannot save you all the time.
neither can your boy who runs Final Fantasy 14. because
Yeah.
he's starting to reach the limits of his abilities soon. With Wu Can, I think, isn't it her name? Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
She's not being well received either.
Yeah.
Who?
There's a character in the newest expansion pack by the name of Wu Can or Wu Tan. I don't know her name offhand. I'm just running through Caleb, and
Wait.
he's he's one of our friends. He's a very small Venezuelan Italian boy who's just trying to make it big, and he really likes Final Fantasy, and he really doesn't care for this character because, from what I remember, is that she's kind of, I don't know, not quite a Sue, just in your face all the time about it. It's terrible. And but yeah, your man who ran Final Fantasy 14 was basically the go-to guy for when Sony needed money. Just have him release a new expansion pack, and the money would come in and save Sony from their Californian decisions. Ugh. What was his name? Naoki Yoshida. There we go. Let me see the last expansion pack. What was her name? Endwalker. What was her character? That's not important. But yeah, they really have to tread carefully because they're relying on the backs of two producers right now.
Yeah.
And I think they are stretching the limit here.
They really are. There's a lot of people out there with a lot of good ideas that could take some of these franchises and honestly turn them into something really interesting. Like, I'm big into co-op stuff. We were just talking about Space Marine, so if you could turn SOCOM into something interesting, you could make a good amount of bank. I don't think that they have exclusivity on Metal Gear Solid Delta, do they?
I don't think so. Let me go see.
Assuming that they don't, Siphon Filter, you get a developer together to put together a really good stealth game,
Oh no, they do not have. It's PlayStation 5, Windows, and Xbox Series X.
Okay, so like it was with 5. So like you don't have Metal Gear Solid to pay the bills anymore. So Siphon Filter would be a good idea. It's silly to me because it's like, where else are you gonna go with these things unless you want to just like remake the original God of War or some shit. But regardless, silly, ignorant statement made when they could be doing a lot more, and not fucking up Helldivers 2.
Mm-hmm.
All right, final topic for today. So Dr. Disrespect, he has returned.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah. His vacation is over apparently. It's oddly enough, like the first episode of the show, we talked about what had happened with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back and I listened. Yeah, and I went back and I listened to it, and there was something that I said that ended up becoming correct here. Is that there's details about this that we don't know. Because the big thing is that we were seeing from these whistleblowers, quote unquote, that they had reported the conversation between him and this supposedly underage person to the police, and nothing happened. And that to me was kind of like a red flag of, wait a minute. So either one or two things is possible. Either A, nothing happened, or B, what happened was not illegal. No crimes get brought. Now, and the way that Doc had described the conversation was he just said inappropriate. Inappropriate's got a pretty broad definition in that sort of a context.
Mm.
Especially considering the time he was kind of stressing out his marriage. So yeah, I mean, it's a broad word.
Yeah, and the way that I look at something like that, I see a sentence like that rather. The first thing that I think to myself is that um, it could, if the cops have not been called and there's nothing illegal going on, it effectively tells me that you just, we're talking to somebody in a way that you shouldn't have talked to, but it wasn't like there's a moral problem, but there's not really a legal problem. The problem is from the place that the places that have reported on this have the way that they've done about this, and the whistleblower had said is that he was sexting with a minor, and that he was planning to meet this person at TwitchCon. One of the people that started these claims was Cody Connors, a former Twitch employee. And Doc came out and basically said that because former Twitch employees have effectively violated the NDAs that they signed, I'm assuming that the NDAs stretched even if they left Twitch. He says basically because they didn't hold up their end of the deal in regards to discussing the lawsuit, he doesn't have to hold up his end of the deal anymore. So what he does is Doc just basically told the whole story about what happened. The basic idea is, in fact, let me see if I can bring up the transcript of what he said. Because I would like to just read it. Because the elements of this are pretty wild when you look at it, and it would make sense in regards to I'm actually going to bring up okay, Legal Mindset actually went over the this real quick, so I'm going to read from his stream. So thank you, Legal Mindset. He says, the transcript was, Dr. Disrespect is reapplying for YouTube monetization on the 25th. He's going to be streaming until then regardless. In his Twitch lawsuit, all parties were not allowed to speak publicly after the lawsuit was resolved. Settlement said no one could speak publicly, but if one side violated, he could respond. He called out ex-Twitch employee Cody Connors for leaking the reported reason for the 2020 ban. Now, keep in mind that what Cody Connors said was the reason. Let me see if I can find the tweets that he had said. I wonder if he deleted it.
The original tweets for where he was explaining why he got sued.
Or why Dr. Disrespect had been banned.
Okay,
I think he deleted them. He did. I'm not seeing them.
Do you know his handle offhand?
At Evoli, Evoli.
Cody Connors. Thankfully, there's a bunch of oh boy. Cody Connors, guy holding a gun to my head while I'm chained to a chair in an abandoned warehouse. Sign the NDA and not compete. Me spitting out blood. Fuck you.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this right now. If Cody Connors ever hears this, you are not the type of person that would ever be tied to a chair and bleeding from the mouth and saying "fuck you." You are the type of person that would be crying after the first punch. I can tell right now just through your tweets that you are absolutely that guy. That the instant that the bamboo shoots come out, you're crying because you're not that hard, pal.
He is not that hard. I'll be real frank.
You play emo music.
But if this is Evoli, if this is the guy you were talking about earlier, he was more or less saying that he's too small of a guy. He's just a small guy. I'm too small to be sued.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
I'm just the little birthday boy. Oh boy. Yeah, he's definitely not a little birthday boy. He's a grown ass man, and he's gonna face the music.
Yep.
Especially if he was privy to the knowledge from behind the scenes. Oh boy. He's not small enough to be not swung at.
Yeah. I am genuinely wondering if he deleted them.
I have a feeling he did. He probably realized he was setting the field for a good lawsuit because yeah, if I was a lawyer, I'd want to showcase that in the opening deposition is best
Yeah, no kidding.
to help solidify my case. Because like, good lord, oh, he's not too small.
I mean, he's putting out all these tweets about how great his band is doing. All right, pal. But regardless, so yeah, I can't find it. But that is what he alleged. But yeah, it looks like he has deleted the tweets.
Mm-hmm.
So Doc says that there will be repercussions for accusing him, stating, "You don't know shit, you don't have any first-hand knowledge, you said I sexted a minor through whisper messages." At that point, he talked about what the legal definition of sexting was and the legal definition of minor. And they said at the time that they were messaging each other, the user was actually over the age of consent. That there was no intentions to ever meet anybody, there was no sexting, no nothing like that. Like, that's not where the conversation went. That there was never any intention to meet the user. They never made any plans to meet at TwitchCon, like was constantly stated. And this is where it gets deep. So here's where listen to this part. Twitch's trust and safety team admitted the messages were not sexting, and acknowledged that it did not constitute child sexual abuse material. There was no exchange of sexually explicit images or messages. He used the term inappropriate purposely in his initial response, but it was mutual bantering with inappropriate jokes, which, by the way, that's what I called. Which, by the way, you shouldn't do it, but by the person admitting that it wasn't appropriate, he's basically saying, I shouldn't have done that. Apparently before he was banned, and this is why the lawsuit happened, apparently Twitch never had legal analysis on whether what happened was even illegal. That his ex-Twitch partner manager never supported him in the case, didn't have his back, and apparently had a problem with him. We don't know if that's true because we don't know the other person. He's also alleging that the same partner manager was involved with him getting banned, which might be the case. I'm assuming that the notes he was reading off of during the stream, because you can kind of tell by his tone and candor and his cadence that he's reading off a set of notes. I have a feeling that that's something that came up in the legal brief, and that was something that his lawyer told him to say. This is where it gets even worse. So let's assume that this Twitch user is 18. The user that he was accused of inappropriately messaging said that they didn't want to report anything to Twitch. Apparently, what happened is this ex-partner manager told them to report it to Twitch. And then the same one escalated it immediately to the Twitch Law Enforcement and Response Team, the LER. So effectively what happens is they escalated it to the LER. I'm assuming that that's what caused the ban.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they sent a few, according to Doc, a few things were cherry-picked and chosen out of context. And then an hour after it was reported, he gets suspended. It was never escalated to law enforcement, ever. And like I said before, the lawsuit wouldn't have gone through if Twitch could just say, he broke the law, we're not paying you shit. And I'm not the only person who said this. Like, a lot of other people said this too. It's like, look, that this does not, this whole thing of people just settling with pedos out of court, this does not actually happen in real life. Unless they are really trying hard to quiet everyone down. And not to mention, we also notice, and this is something that I have to put out there with this, is the concept of burden of proof. Cody Connors said he sexted with minors. Other anonymous whistleblowers, quote unquote, said that he sexted with minors, and that's why the ban happened. We never saw the messages. Nobody ever dropped receipts. And at the end of the day, if you're not dropping receipts, there's no way to verify what you're saying. They apparently didn't have a lawyer look over this to say whether or not they could get in legal problems for banning the guy. And then neither he or the alleged victim were ever interviewed by NCMEC. So basically what we have here is that Twitch banned him on a reaction of what might have happened, did not talk to Doc, did not talk to the user in question. They trusted one guy's word, and then all of a sudden, Doc is banned from Twitch, loses his partnership. And one thing he brings up is other Twitch users that have had blatant breaches of the TOS that were never penalized, which admittedly is a good point. One big problem on Twitch right now is that there are women advertising their OnlyFans on Twitch, and there's minors all over Twitch. So that's not a problem, apparently. Hassan Piker, actively calling for people to be murdered, interviewing terrorists. That's not a problem. You have people using the N-word or other racial slurs, never getting in trouble. Things like that. Furries that are apparently groomers can get Twitch partner. You know. But Dr. Disrespect is too much. Now here's where it gets better. Apparently, according to Doc, in the court case during the lawsuit, the messages came up. The judge said they weren't illegal. And that what was going on was not, what that person said was going on wasn't actually going on.
Oh.
That's the big thing. A judge, apparently, has seen this, has seen what the conversation was, and said this is not illegal. For those playing the home game, that's the end. That's the end of the chain, is the judge. If the judge looks at it and says this is not illegal, that's it. It's over. The discussion is over. There is nothing. That's why he won the lawsuit. So where does that leave us? I agree with what Asmongold said in the sense that Cody Connors needs to be sued. Somebody needs to be in trouble for this. Because the fact of the matter is that the reputation of Dr. Disrespect has been tainted because of this. You go on Reddit, everybody's calling him a pedophile. Everybody. Same thing on Twitter. The community notes. I've been told from people that the community notes, every time Dr. Disrespect tweets, one of the community notes that's trying to get pushed by people is that he's a pedophile. So people are trying to abuse the purpose of community notes to try to frame him as a pedophile without evidence. This is pretty bad. I am tempted to try and get in touch with him and say, hey, just so you know, how, like, if this helps your case in anything legal, I can have somebody screenshot people trying, just as evidence of like how badly this has hurt your public persona. There are people trying to abuse community notes on Twitter that are under the impression that you're a pedophile, when apparently it's not true. So this is a big deal, and I agree with Asman on the idea that a precedent needs to be set here, because all too often we are seeing people that get slandered, get canceled, the whole 9 yards, and when that happens, they lose money, they lose careers, or their careers is basically never the same again. I mean, look at Chris Avallone. He hasn't been on another AAA title, I don't think, since the accusations came out against them, and they were all false. So it's one of those things where I'm bothered about this because I don't watch the guy. I have no opinions about Dr. Disrespect's content. I'm just not a Call of Duty player anymore. I haven't played a Call of Duty game, I think, in like over 10 years. But I have a problem with the precedent that this sets in public. Because if Dr. Disrespect, one of the biggest streamers on the planet, could be brought down by one emo band member lying about him, what does that say for any of the rest of us? If there's no repercussions, people are just going to keep doing it. What do you guys think about all this?
Oh my goodness, he's gonna get stomped.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good lord. I hope so anyway. Ugh. And yeah, genuinely, he has ruined Dr. Disrespect at all levels. Like, I can't even like talk with him with my coworkers about him without him being mentioned, being like, oh, he might be a pedophile, and I had to explain, like, well, the trans thing is true, but the other parts not so much. At least the trans thing was funny, where he messaged a trans streamer and he said, I'm gripping hard right now.
Yeah.
Gonna release one. And then, like, 5 minutes later, boom. It's like, oh, God. That's at least funny. The other allegations, not so much. And we really, really have to guard the allegations of calling someone a pedophile at this point, because it is the last thing that anyone will, like bridge, like, together and say, no, you guys do not belong here. You're not allowed to exist. Ugh. And to, like, water it down, I fucking hate that they do that.
Yeah. This has been the year of the pedo hunt. And I'll say this right now. In fact, I said this at the start of the fucking show when we first started this podcast. Is you cannot make this to where something we can't take it seriously. Because now we're going to be second guessing it. And we can't be in a position where we're second guessing the idea that people could be abusing children. What the fuck, man? Like, I'm mind boggled by things like that, and I really wish that people would understand that they don't, they shouldn't be doing shit like that.
Ugh. To be
Don't
fair,
hit
we didn't hear it. We didn't hear it. I didn't
I
hear
hear
it.
it.
They stopped. Okay, I'll just edit that part out. But anyway, so yeah, as it stands, like, you can't water down shit like that. You can't fucking do it. If you do things like this, you don't just hurt you hurt the community. You hurt the planet. You hurt the internet. And the repercussions of this, I think, are going to be felt for some time, because now there's going to be somebody that's actually guilty that people are going to doubt whether or not they're guilty because this shit happened. Because one fucking emo band member wanted some attention. Jesus fucking Christ. Fuck emo kids, man.
Right?
Fuck all of them.
There's a character in my book that's an emo that dies horribly.
Good. Because fuck them. I'm going to hit the button now.
Fuck them.
It's only just.
Oh my god. So, to close this out, for those wondering, Wayne is actually getting ready for a new day job tomorrow, which, congrats to Wayne, that's awesome. And Xavier is out of town this weekend, so that's why they were unable to join us. But they will hopefully be back next week for fun times and laughing at idiots, because, dear Christ.
Ow.
So, before we close out, any final words, guys?
I don't have anything to say.
Not at the moment.
Yeah.
Although Haver did want me to, like, sum up the horse heresy using McDonald's somehow, but I have an idea for that. I have an idea for it, but just not right now.
Yeah. But regardless, last thing to say, thank you to everybody also who has picked up, went ahead and pre-ordered their copy of Cyberpop Control Theory on Indiegogo. Right now the campaign is sitting at $11,000, and we only needed $7,000. And we got that in 24 hours. So thank you all so much for that. If you have not backed the campaign yet and you're interested in it, head over to Indiegogo. Right now it's actually trending on the front page. So hopefully more people will get their hands on it as the days go on. So we'll go ahead and bring it to a close there. So for everybody, my name is Micah Curtis, President, CEO, co-owner of Grindstone Arts. Thanks so much for listening to us, and we will see you guys next week.
Freak.